Hey again, it's Jamila. Glad you can join me for another discussion on all things work-related. Today, we're going to shift gears to discuss how to produce more at work, set professional SMART goals, and expect the unexpected. Today's topics allow you to think about your current situation, whatever that may be. Beginning your job search, in the middle of your job search, transitioning to a new job, or maybe you're already in your job, thinking of ways to do your work even better. So let's get started. The Houston Chronicle identified 5 characteristics of a strong work ethic. Let's review some of them. As we do, think about how you've shown that characteristic, as well as how you might improve in that area. First, reliability. People who are reliable show punctuality in attendance. It should go without saying, but it is important for you to show up to work. Employers today say they don't have problems finding skilled or qualified applicants. The challenge they do have, hiring employees that know how to show up to work and show up on time. Clocking in 5 minutes late every day just won't cut it. Most people who are reliable also perform consistently in their work. On Monday, do you show up on fire, ready to get the job done? And when Friday rolls around, you lower your productivity in preparation for the weekend? Consistency means that throughout your work shift, work day, and work week, you show up ready to put your best foot forward the entire time. When it comes to being reliable, you do what you say you're going to do. This is important to employers and says a lot about you and your work ethic. Let's talk about dedication. Dedication takes it a step further. People who are dedicated go above and beyond to get the job done. In this way, they don't limit themselves to what's expected of them. They look to do even more. Do you come in early? Do you stay late? Do you put in extra effort to ensure your job is done well? If so, that is an indication of your strong work ethic. People who are dedicated also do anything to ensure they can perform well. Think about what helps you perform well. Is it a healthy breakfast? A good cup of coffee? A good night's sleep? In most cases, you have the power to control how well you do your job. So think actively about how you'll do that as you move into your next job. Dedicated people often show less frequent job changes. Now, there's not much you can do about your job history, but there's a lot you can do about your career going forward and the job you're going into. Did the manager get under your skin? Do you quit at the first sign of trouble? Think about how you can work toward more dedication in your job. Again, you say a lot about your work ethic when you can dedicate yourself to the commitments you have already made. Let's talk about productivity for a few minutes. People who are productive work at a consistent pace and get more done than the average person. A moment ago, we talked about reliability and consistent performance. We can emphasize that idea here. Whatever pace you work that is beneficial for the business and for you, try to make that pace fairly regular throughout your work shift, work day, or work week. Workers who produce prove themselves valuable to a company. How can you work so that there's something to show for it? Time and time again, we hear about the importance of teamwork in the workplace. People who are cooperative work hard to work well with others. More often, employees agree on the goal that needs to be reached, but they often disagree on how that goal should be reached. Do your best to avoid getting caught in the weeds with your coworkers. They respect their bosses too. This is how you show the utmost professionalism in your workplace. People who are cooperative are extremely valuable to a company. Finally, we can discuss the importance of character. Strong character means you are self-disciplined and you push yourself to complete the task. You display honesty and trustworthiness daily, and you distinguish yourself from other coworkers because of these things. Character is essentially the way you demonstrate all 5 characteristics of strong work ethic. Character means consistency and integrity. We're going to switch gears and talk about goal setting. SMART goals is a tool to ensure that your goals are well thought out. Each letter of the word SMART stands for a detail you'll add to your goal, so you're more likely to make it happen. S is for specific, M, measurable, A, achievable, R, relevant, and T, time-bound. So let's start with the S, specific. To make sure your goal is specific, ask yourself the following questions. Then, write down your answers so you can refer to them in the future. Think about your job search as we answer the following questions. First, what do you want to accomplish? Name the position you want. Full-time, part-time, permanent employment. Why do you want to accomplish it? To provide for yourself, family, and establish a sense of self-worth and accomplishment? What are the requirements? Dedication to the job search, access to all available resources, possibly networking? What's keeping me from achieving it? If it's nothing that can't be overcome, then we can move on to the next detail, which is measurable. Goals that are measurable ask the question, how will I measure my progress? And how will I know when the goal is accomplished? These might seem like silly questions to ask yourself of the job search, but let's use an example. Let's imagine you wanted to get better at running. But if you don't give yourself a measurement, you won't have a standard to measure your progress. You might say that you can run for 30 seconds more and claim that it's better, when in actuality, it's not much more than you could run before. Let's bring it back to the job search. As we mentioned in another video, you might not have control over how many callbacks you receive or how many interviews you get invited to. But there are some things you do have control over. You might determine how many applications you put in per day, per week, or you might decide how many follow-up calls you will make per day or per week. Give yourself check marks throughout the process. That way, you know you're making progress. Let's move on to discuss the A, achievable. Achievable goals ask, how can the goal be accomplished? What steps should I take? What resources do I need to achieve this goal? In this way, you are considering all the things that might potentially get in your way as you try to meet your goal. Let's use another example to apply this concept. If you are returning to school, one very important resource is money. Have you decided how you'll pay for tuition, books, transportation, and all the other finer details associated with going to school? These questions are also important to ask during your job search. If you are starting your job search, some of your first initial steps might be deciding on what type of occupations you want to pursue. You might meet with a career specialist or someone else who might be able to discuss a few career options with you. When it comes to resources you need for job search, some things include computer or internet access, peripheral devices like scanners and printers, and if you really wanted to improve your ability to apply for those jobs and improve your ability to compete for those jobs, consider computer skills tutorials. Tutorials that might be beneficial include typing skills tutorials, Microsoft tutorials, Google Suite tutorials, and more. Your goal becomes more achievable when you keep those things in mind. Now, let's talk about how your goal is relevant. At this point in your goal writing process, you are likely very certain that this goal is relevant for your life in the larger picture. But let's break down a few of the finer details of why this goal is important to you. First, is it a worthwhile goal? If so, how? Is now the right time? Will anything keep you from your goal now that later will not be an issue? While we've evaluated the resources you need just a moment ago, we can ask, will you be able to obtain all the necessary resources? Then finally, is this goal in line with your long-term goals? You don't want to pursue something that will end up costing you time, energy, and sometimes money with nothing to show for it. Decide if pursuing this goal will be worth it for you. Now we're on to what I consider the most important step of this process, making your goal time-bound. Do your best to decide how long it will take to accomplish this goal. If it's job search, not how long will it take for you to get a job. That's unknowable. The question might be instead, how long before I diversify my job search or pursue something new? When will this goal be complete? The answer to this question is most likely when you secure the job. Finally, when will I work on this goal? In the Starting the Search workshop, we discuss the importance of planning your time so that you are efficient and active in your job search. So think about that and plan your job search strategy as much as you're able. While we've touched on this before, do your best to be realistic about your expectations of time throughout this entire process. You know your goals are SMART when they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If you've taken some time to jot down this information, make sure you keep your goal in a visible place and refer to it often. Check in to see how you're doing. Take small steps toward your goal every day, and think about making all of your goals SMART. What are your thoughts on Murphy's Law? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong? Maybe this isn't the most positive way to begin your job search, but it helps you think actively about what might stand in your way as you get there. You'll want to think about the problems that might occur in your job search, in getting to work, getting your child to daycare, attending appointments that you have at workforce. You might use a worksheet to think through problems that you often face or could potentially face in the future. Write down a list of possible solutions to those problems. First, write down the goals you want to reach. Then, write down the problems that might arise as you meet that goal. Then, write down the solutions to those problems. Solutions to those problems might be workforce resources, family, and friends. Now, you don't want to simply put family, friends, and resources as your solutions. Instead, ask yourself, who are the people in your life who are most likely to be the solutions to those problems? Write down their names. Consider calling them and seeing if they might be a possible solution to a problem that might come up. Let's take a car, for example. If your car breaks down, might you have a friend or someone nearby who can assist you with that? Give them a call and see if they can do that for you. The more specific you can be at this point in your job preparation, the better you're going to be when you get to that job. Nothing should stand in your way when you finally secure that employment you've been working so hard to get. So let's go ahead and wrap up today's discussion. Today, we've talked about the Houston Chronicle's 5 areas of strong work ethic, identifying areas of your strong work ethic, making SMART goals for the future, and expecting the unexpected. My hope is that these topics have allowed you to think about your current situation and help you progress to that next level. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm wishing you all the best in your job search.